Good morning everyone, Tater here, welcome to Tater Games. Today we're actually going to get into the showcase and kick off Season 2 of Tater Games, which is basically going to be a new look. For example, the look that you got right now. And apparently I hired new stuff, which is this ant that hasn't moved in God knows how many hours. Now let's get straight into the showcase. You guys made some amazing stuff and some very disappointing stuff as well at the exact same time, but we're going to talk all about that for the top 10 showcase of the Game Jam Halloween 2017. So coming in at number 1 is actually The Cave. Now we're actually going to talk to the developers very shortly in their own kind of little episode of Tater Games so that they can kind of explain to us how they actually made a lot of the stuff that they made for this game. And believe me, this game is actually very much well worth playing. Now the game itself does remind me of another game called The Witness, and The Witness was really cool. I enjoyed it. I like puzzle games and stuff like that, and this was basically a puzzle in first person, a really clever way of actually creating a puzzle game. They got the aesthetics very right. The gameplay was pretty cool. I mean, it could be touched up a little bit. Some of the things were a little bit glitchy. They had a few cinematics in there, which was really awesome. The sound quality, design, and all of that stuff was really cool. The voice actor, I think you could change who the voice actor actually is because it's not really a pleasing, well, it is pleasing, you know. Yeah, I'm not going to judge that one too much. The twist at the end was really cool. It was all story based, so you it wasn't like a twist, a visual twist that you were like, whoa, you were just like, huh. The one massive problem that I actually see with this game is your optimization. You guys didn't really optimize the game well enough to be played on sort of every, not operating system is the wrong word, to be played on every sort of computer, because that's kind of the end goal, is to get as much audience as you can using the stuff that's available to you. Optimization is a very big part of game development, and when I was playing your game, I was only getting around 15 to 20 frames per second for the max quality sort of settings, and when it came to the minimum quality settings, I was getting around 25 to 35. I mean, that's fine, it's playable, but when you're creating games, you're trying to compete against a lot of AAA sort of titles out there and stuff like that, and they've made it so that kind of 60 frames is the minimum that you want to aim for on pretty much the entire spectrum. So it's kind of like an industry standard that you guys need to look towards and stuff like that, but I really do hope that you guys continue developing it, and of course I'll contact you very shortly so that we can talk about what's going to happen with this and how you went through the entire process of making it. Coming in at number 2 is a game called Pokeable, which is sort of like a weird, kind of twisted story, a Japanese shooter, basically. There are very few ways to actually describe this game, but I'll try my best. Basically, you play as a sentient hand that kind of shoots things out of its fingers, and at the same time it's attached to a very long arm. And you know what they say about people with long arms? They can program really well. I mean, obviously the game is kind of a Japanese shooter, but it did remind me a little bit of that whole Blitzcrank game that used to come out that was like League of Legends. It was on mobile. It was actually really fun to play. It kind of had a shooting mechanic, but it was a little bit weird and distorted and kind of different than the actual League of Legends thing that it's based on. It actually had a lot of great components to it, and I can't think of anything that was actually really wrong with this game. It was pretty much perfect in terms of a game. Something you guys could improve on is making it a little more twisted and a little bit more weird. I know it's already weird, but if you're gonna go halfway, you may as well do the full thing, you know? Get some 3D in there, get some physics on the finger. Oh, that would be amazing, physics on the finger. So every time you shoot, it's kind of like a jelly, you know? Oh, yes, there's an idea right there. Jellyfinger, the game. Now available on the App Store and Google Play. Jellyfinger. Or you could just have had fun developing the game and leave it at that. Coming in at number 3 was a game called Memory. Now Memory was kind of weird. I know it was definitely made in Unreal, I think. Actually, why would I say definitely in there, I think? It reminds me a lot of Fez, and Fez was an amazing game, but it did really well as a 2D game. I know the game has to be 3D in order to get that whole perspective thing that you guys are trying to create or recreate or whatever you like to call it. I think that the look of the game is incredibly important, and you guys did not nail the look, but pretty much everything else, especially gameplay, because those puzzles were really fun to try and solve. That was all awesome stuff. Plus the story was actually really cool. It was a really short sort of puzzle game that you needed to try and create, and I don't think it's really based off memory. I don't know where that sort of name comes from. All that being said, it was a great game, great gameplay, great puzzles, and of course a great concept, because you don't really see games like that too often. You guys definitely deserve third place. Coming in at number 4 is a game called Fight Me. Now Fight Me had really, no sort of concept to it. It was actually a really cool game though. It was definitely probably going to be number 1 or number 2 if I was to create a list up there, because I mean it fit the theme so perfectly. I did not expect a single thing from that game. You kind of get drunk and then fight inanimate objects, or vice versa. You know, you fight inanimate objects and then get drunk. Celebration. I didn't know that a lot of the game was actually destructible and you could destroy a lot of things, and it was sort of like a little bit of a puzzle, like how am I supposed to get from here to here within this house. Also there's, oh my god, there's furniture blocking the doorway and the furniture's trying to attack me. They have health bars. What do I have to do? Fight me. Makes perfect sense. I do like the style of your guys' game as well. That sort of low poly style is really, really common and really, really cool as well. And the fact that you guys actually got some animation in there for the fighting and for the walking, and the walking was just hilarious. I mean, genius move on your guys' behalf. I'd say the only thing I didn't like was the drunk vision, because it was really, really hard to see, especially as you got more and more drunk. I guess you could just not drink. There's a lesson actually, don't drink too much or you might impair your vision. I don't think you do, but you might. Hold up, if alcohol doesn't impair your vision, then I guess this comes here. Next up we have a game called Bones. Would have worked very well with the Christmas theme, because basically this entire game is you're a skeleton inside a room on Christmas. I'm guessing it's Christmas because there's a Christmas tree, presents, and the family's all there, but you kind of move them around and throw them out the window, was my goal anyway. The game was enjoyable. There was no progression. There was actually no not much gameplay other than moving objects around. I don't actually know if you can get through the door. I tried very hard to find keys and find all this type of stuff and move stuff around, but I never actually ended up getting through the door. So if there was actually another level, please do tell me so that I can complete it. Not that that was a bad thing. I think some of the best games are actually physics based, which this one was. The skeletons kind of had this bones and ligaments and stuff, and you could just kind of put them in really awkward positions, but obviously I didn't do that because I threw them out the window. Basically the entire gaming experience was trying to throw every single thing out the window, and if I were in your guys' shoes, I would actually try and make the game slightly, longer. You need some more things to do. I mean, the physics-based side of it was actually really cool and probably one of the best games in that sort of genre of trying to make something physics-based. I mean, Gang Beasts was really successful. If you made this a sort of third person instead of first person, you might get a game that's quite similar to that, which would be really cool if you were playing as these sort of voxel-shaped skeletons. You know, go around, fight with your friends, grab things, grab objects, and try and kill them with different style things. You know, it would be really, really fun. But other than that, the game was pretty cool. There wasn't much post-processing. It didn't need that. It was very simple. I like the fact you could look out the window and there was not much there. There could be a little bit more aesthetics outside, but I mean, you don't go outside, so it's probably not necessary. Although it would be really cool if you could break down the walls and actually travel around and just explore an area where everything is sort of physics-based. Just like Goat Simulator, a masterpiece. Now, coming in at number 6, there was actually a tie for number 6. That was Bill's Parable and, of course, a game called Judgement. Now, these two games are incredibly similar for quality. One did have a very I didn't expect that factor, and the other one had an amazing story, and, of course, the gameplay and the decisions and the way that you actually play the game is really, really cool. I kind of judge them separately so that we don't think that, oh, one's better than the other, and just for the sake of this, I'm just going to judge Judgement first. Judgement was a very story-based game. Pretty much you're reading and just making decisions. There's pretty much two very important decisions that you need to make within the game, and then a really weird twist at the end, which I thought was just brilliant. The best thing about games like this is it gives you a real philosophy-styled, it makes you think deeper about something that really doesn't matter. I mean, I know it's just a game and it's just a story, but at the same time you kind of leave it being like, I wonder what would happen if I actually was in this situation. Would I still pick what I had picked? Maybe, maybe not. You're basically deciding the fate of other people, and then of course the fate for you gets decided based upon what you want, but there is a massive twist at the end which is really, really cool, and it just doesn't, it fits in the story really nicely, and it just doesn't make sense to you unless you think about it outside of the confines of the actual game, which is a great thing when games do that. It's awesome when games actually do this. The one thing I think the game could actually improve on was the visuals. It was cool, it was very cool, but that pixelated style kind of fits back in time just a little bit if you wanted to go down that direction. Obviously it doesn't matter what your game kind of looks like, it's up to the audience that actually wants to play it, and quite frankly I'm somebody who likes these styled games. I like stories, but I don't like reading books. So my one piece of feedback to you would be to actually improve the visual side of it, have a more RPG styled version of it where you can actually move around, which would be really great if you could see the world before you actually went to this spot. Hopefully I said that without spoiling too much. Now we'll move on to Bill's Parable, also at number 6, tied. Bill's Parable was funny, very funny. There was an amazing piece of artwork inside the house of Bill's Parable, and I really did appreciate that, by the way. Spoiler. Anyway, the game's really good. I think it's based off the Stanley Parable. The twist at the end is brilliant because it caught me completely off guard, and I loved it. There was a bit of gameplay features that you could have done because I could have just skipped right through the building, I'm pretty sure. I guess there was only really 2 things to kind of do. I know you only had 5 days, mate. It was really, really good for 5 days. The only sort of piece of feedback I would say would be aesthetics. I mean, it didn't look the best. It had great shadows, great lighting, all of that type of stuff. The house was made really great, but you can tell it was made within a very short period of time because the story is not long. It would have been great if the story was long, and similar to the Stanley Parable, if there were different outcomes depending on what you chose. Had you chosen to walk into the house and walk straight out, then it says something else, like the narrator says something else. Had you chosen not to actually answer the phone or to do different things, I mean, that can all affect the ending, but I'm pretty sure the ending was the exact same thing every single time I played. It's just an expansion thing. That's all these games kind of really need, was just a few more days or a few more weeks or something to actually expand on this idea that they have come up with. And if any of you guys actually do think that your game is, you know, sort of worthy of being something, I encourage you to continue working on it, because it would be great to have a game on Steam that was kind of started up in this game jam, or any game jam for that matter, or anyone in my audience for that matter. It would be awesome. Bill's Parable, good job, buddy. Contact me if you want to sell that piece of artwork. Next up at number 7, or well, I guess number 8, but I'm going to make it number 7 anyway because, well, why not? I'm in control. Number 7 was the Glitchy Tunnels of Unexpectedness. Now this game was actually really, really cool. It was really weird to see a Game Maker game in 3D. I don't usually see that. I'm gonna say the entire game had the same sort of gameplay as the old Daggerfall, I think it was, Daggerfall? Daggerfall was made years and years ago, and it was pretty much one of those early renditions of turning 2D into 3D and kind of mixing the two together. It was a really cool game back then, and your guys' version of it was actually, I'm gonna say, looked a lot better. Unfortunately, you guys do lack a lot of gameplay. Finding all the unicorns to try and unlock a burger voucher or something like that, or a burger and fries voucher, I mean, I guess, yes, very unexpected, and the fact that there were unicorns involved, kind of unexpected. So it'd be an awesome idea to expand upon that and add a lot more gameplay components, because movement alone is not necessarily the best thing for any game. I mean, some games do it really well. Slender, I guess, is one of those games, but there are always things that you can do. For example, collecting things would have been a lot better. I know you kind of need to find these unicorns or collect them in very weird ways, but actually going through with that is a completely different story, because you need to have some form of other gameplay that actually makes that collecting feel satisfying, or makes it feel, you know, motivating to try and find the next one, or makes it motivating to actually play the game. The maze system was really, really confusing, and I think there are a few more improvements that you could have when you're actually doing that, but that's just my opinion. And of course, if you guys are wanting to push this forward, I can't wait to see what you actually do with this. It'd be really nice to see another Daggerfall, you know, sort of dungeon crawler type things. Oh, nostalgia, it's bad for you. Right, and finally we have our last sort of place winner. Of course, there are 2 more games that I'm going to mention, purely because there is a little bit of confusion about who came 10th and who came 11th, because they both got the exact same score, and Itch.io kind of screwed it around. So don't worry guys, I'll get to you, don't worry. But right now we're going to talk about a game called An Average School Day, which was amazing, and I think it was one of the funniest things to ever see, because who else would expect to make a game about school? We leave school to come home and play games, but we don't play games to go back to school. You know what I'm saying? So the gameplay side of it was really cool. Pretty much you just need to cheat on this test because you don't know the answers, alright? And so you can do stuff like peek at other people or throw things around. The game was actually really, really cool. I liked it. The only thing was the style and the AI could have been a little bit better, because I thought that you kind of had to wait for the teacher to look away, which just so happened to not be the case. It seemed to still work even though the teacher was looking directly at you or walking straight past you. No matter what you pressed, you could kind of work with the game. It wasn't exactly a threat, but the twist was awesome. What a cool principle. If that is your real principal, if you are still in school and that is your real principal, or that was your real principal, what a good guy. In terms of improvement, unfortunately, I don't think this game is something that would sell. It is very, very entertaining, but in a different way than games usually are. If you were to try and kind of complete it, I do not see where the game would go. In saying that, though, there are a lot of ideas that people think won't work that usually will work because they are ideas that people think won't work. I like the idea of the plain sight authority in the game, and you kind of want to move. That's really what you want to do. And you also want to look for sort of subtle visual. If you've played the game Spy Party, that game entirely revolves around visual clues. It would be awesome if there was a cheater in the classroom. There was one person cheating and there were a lot of choices. Similar to Spy Party, the teacher needs to figure out who's cheating, right? And that is played by one player. And then player 2, of course, is the cheater within the classroom. And of course the teacher needs to walk around in order to try and pick up subtle visual clues that actually, you know, lets the teacher decide who they think the cheater is within the classroom. So you kind of got to time your movements and stuff like that. That would be really, really cool. Not entirely sure how far the game can actually go, but I know for a fact that that would be very fun, in my opinion. Don't worry. I loved your game, guys. Well done. Next up, I'm just going to special mention these two games because, quite frankly, they deserve to be in this list. It was a little bit confusing. I don't know what Itchy was doing, but it said one was 10th and one was 11th, so it doesn't really make sense as to why it was happening, even though they both got the same score. We're kind of extending our time, so I won't mention too much of you guys, but you guys did an amazing job, especially Occupied was very, very, very cool and stuff like that. I really did love your look. Your look was amazingly well done. For a, you know, pixelated-y game. I love when people take the old look and style. The only thing I didn't like about the game was kind of like the gameplay side. There wasn't much to do, and it was very jittery, if that's a word. Jittery's a word. As in the controls were a bit flaky. You spend this entire episode making up words. And finally, our final game, our absolute final game for the Game Jam showcase was something called Shadow Souls, which was really, really cool. I don't think you deserved 11th place, mate. Or 10th place. I think you deserved to be in like top 5. Your game was amazingly well done. It had an amazing concept. The gameplay side of it was a little bit glitchy. I love the artwork. I love the silhouette figures and stuff like that. And I love the twist at the end with a finger that I'm not going to mention. I thought it had an amazing ending and amazing style, and I think that the game actually has potential to be pushed into something else, give it that sort of limbo feel. If you smooth all the movements out and stuff like that, it would be really, really cool. And I hope you guys actually work on your games. In fact, I hope everybody continues to work on their games. There are a few that shouldn't, but I don't want to get into detail about who they are. It's nice giving positive feedback, but not really nice giving negative feedback. Anyway, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the new look of this channel. We are going to start doing new content and stuff like that. Of course, interview guys, I'll get to you very shortly. And other stuff like that. Oh my god, it's gonna be cool. I really, really want to do one of these a day, but I don't think I'll be able to keep to that schedule, so I'm not gonna promise anything. But as far as I know, I'm going to try and push videos as quickly as I can. And someone said to start a Patreon. I don't know. It's charity money, isn't it? Anyway, guys, to everyone who participated, hopefully you guys enjoyed the Game Jam and doing stuff like that. To everyone watching, hopefully you guys go and actually check out their stuff, because a lot of them do have a lot of potential, and I cannot wait until these people start making like published games. Until these people start publishing games would be awesome to see. And of course, as always, if you want to talk about more game development stuff, you can head on over to the Discord channel, where we have 3,000 members now, which is really cool, because that's 3,000 more people that you guys can talk to whenever you need help, instead of just spamming me with DMs, because I get a lot of messages about either simple stuff or really complex stuff, and it's really hard to explain to people. But I do love your DMs anyway, so keep sending them to me. I don't mind too much, answering as much as I can. You guys can of course find me on Twitter and of course Facebook. All links should be in the description below, including a link towards the Game Jam website, so that you guys can actually go and play the games itself. Remember, I am making my own game, and that should be coming out very, very shortly. Hopefully it should be ready in a few more days. Anyway, guys, have a great day, and I'll see you all tomorrow.